Welcome to the Content Podcast, conversations with Silicon Valley's creatives. I'm Daniel Garcia, your host and the cultivator of Content Magazine, published by SV Creates.
Hello, this is Ren.
Today we talk with singer-songwriter Ren Geisick. Hey Ren, how you doing? This is Daniel.
Hi, Daniel.
It's so good to hear your voice.
So nice to hear your voice too. I miss you a ton.
I know. You don't get to see anybody anymore. I don't get to see you on stage. I don't get to see you walking around or even getting coffee at a coffee shop or anything.
I know. I feel like we used to run into each other,
Yeah.
and now those times are over.
They are. Hopefully they're coming back. Do you have any, before we get into it, do you have any gigs coming up? Actually, like any kind of venue?
Like live streams
Yeah.
or venue things?
Both. All the above.
I've been, for the most part, doing these things I'm calling cinnamon Sundays now, since we're in autumn. It was summer Sundays for a while.
Yeah.
And now it's called Cinnamon Sunday. So I usually do a live stream every Sunday at 6 p.m.
Oh, I didn't know that.
But I'm actually taking this week off.
Oh, okay.
If you can believe that. And next Sunday on the 25th, William, my bandmate from the Anachronistics, and I will be doing our live stream and, trying to put the word out on our single. So
Yeah, that's cool. Well, I definitely want to get into that, but we need to step it all the way back. First,
yes,
we have to ask you this question.
Uh-huh.
How, you're a vocalist, a singer, and all that kind of stuff, but how would you describe who you are and your style?
Well, I am a singer-songwriter. I've been really trying to dig into that songwriter part for the last few years. And I kind of like to go between lots of genres. So at the moment I have my own band under my own name, just Ren Geisick, and I have an album out with that. And then and that's sort of like a country Americana vibe. I'd say classic country, a little bit of jazz in there because I was trained in jazz initially. And then I have my band, the Anachronistics, which is more of a funk and soul band, because I just like a lot of different things.
Yeah.
And for me, like, I love blues and I love kind of a more powerful vocal. And I feel like with the funk band and the soul, like those songs, you can kind of deliver a little bit of power in a particular style. So it's been fun.
Would you say then, because you're a vocalist and you have a very kind of like, you have a bit of a classic kind of country jazz kind of feel, do you think then, that's kind of made you like check out all those different genres and your influences, and that's why you kind of emulate that? I mean, more than panging on a style, you kind of, it's the voice that's leading it?
Yeah, I mean, for me, my favorite singers do a lot of different stylistic things. I'd say, I mean, my two top favorites are Nina Simone and Eva Cassidy. Nina Simone, considered herself a folk singer, if you can believe that.
That kind of makes sense, actually,
Yeah, she would say that, I'm a folk singer, because it's all about the story and it's all about kind of the expressiveness of the voice.
Yeah.
And then Eva Cassidy is one I love because she actually passed away before people really knew her or had heard her music. And she recorded blues and jazz and like folk stuff, and she played guitar and sang, and she did like covers of popular music and everything. It was like really broad in terms of genre, but the thing that connected it was this just very powerful voice that was really committed to interpreting the song to its fullest like extent. So.
Yeah, that's cool. When did you like discover that you had a voice and you could sing? Do you kind of remember a moment somebody told you something, or was it always?
There's some folklore in in my family. So apparently, when I was like 3 years old, I watched The Little Mermaid every single day for an entire year, and I would sit in the back seat in like the car seat, and my dad would hear me singing the song, look at this stuff, isn't it neat?
Yeah, yeah.
And I could go on, but yeah, so he could hear me singing it, and he was like, "Wow, I think she can actually sing." So that was
Yeah.
the first of the folklore that I could sing. And then, of course, I grew up singing in church. So I think my first like performance in front of people was singing Silent Night when I was around 8 or 9 years old
Okay, yeah.
in
So do
front
you
of the
remember,
church.
I mean, do you kind of remember that? Do you remember kind of like being in front of people and singing, and did that kind of spark like, oh, I like this? Or was it more looking back, you kind of think like, oh, I didn't really understand what was happening? Or do you feel like that was kind of like, hey, I kind of am drawn to this?
I think I knew that I really liked it. I went to a daycare in the area, Holy Cross Daycare, and they had plays. And
Mm-hmm.
I remember auditioning for the plays. And like I think the first play I ever auditioned for was Peter Pan, and I got Wendy.
Oh,
And
okay.
I was like obsessive about learning the song. I just remember listening to the song. I think Never Never Land is the name of the main song for that character. And I was just obsessed. I listened to it
Yeah.
over and over and over and over. And I was so like intense about matching the pitch and
Yeah.
having the right tone and everything. And I was a little kid.
That's
And
funny.
I kind of just was super drawn to the act of singing,
Yeah.
just from an early age, and really in tune with like listening and kind of getting it down. So
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, but I feel like anyone can sing. I just had like an early start. I just had like a real early start, and but I think like anybody who would try could probably give
Yeah.
it. I think so.
Well, I don't, yeah. Well, I mean, I do think it's great, especially like, in churches, or if you're a part of a
Mhm.
community that's, singing every week, right? And
Mhm.
music is a part of that.
Mhm.
And then you have opportunities too to try different things. I think it's like a
Yeah.
really great time. And you see so many great singers, you know, coming out of, faith traditions because of that opportunity, it gives them yeah.
Yeah, and I think part of the big benefit of singing in church is that you have this community around you who you know in your heart of hearts that no matter what you do,
Yeah.
they're gonna love you no matter what, and you're gonna get a positive and affirming reaction. I mean, of course, I'm sure my mom would tell me if I wasn't doing a good
Right.
job,
Yeah.
but but like the people in the church, you sing for them, and they're gonna love it and really support
Yeah.
you and make you feel good. And it kind of is a really good way to be encouraged when you're a young
Yeah, especially when
singer.
you're 8 years old, you're singing and you're wearing your Sunday best, and you're right. That's where you get a lot of people who actually think they can sing
Yeah,
because
no,
they
it's
got
true.
that.
It can go the other direction too.
I guess it's when you get older and then you start to realize, like, wait a second, the worship pastor's not calling me to do that solo anymore. I must
Yeah.
have hit the wrong note. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I guess that's true. It can go the other way.
Yeah. So at a pretty early age, you had this sense of music, right? And then
Yes.
you did go off to college at
Cal State Long Beach.
Long Beach. That's right.
Hmm.
And was that to major in music, or were you doing
Yeah.
something else? Yeah.
I majored in jazz vocal performance, actually.
Okay. Okay. Right. So then
Um,
by the time you got to out of high school, you were already thinking more kind of in the genre of jazz.
well, yes, in a way, but it was mostly that I wanted to do more contemporary music. I knew I didn't want to study classical voice
Okay.
as my major, and so the only like contemporary option at most schools is jazz. And I
Okay.
knew I liked jazz because I listened to Ella Fitzgerald and Billie
Yeah.
Holiday, Frank Sinatra, and all that growing up, and my parents were into that stuff. So um, I knew I liked jazz, and I wanted to get better at a more like popular style singing, I guess.
Yeah.
But I did have to study 2 years of classical voice
Yeah.
in order to become a jazz major. In fact, on one of my live streams recently, I totally shocked everyone and did like an opera thing because
Oh.
my dad like posted in the comments something like, "Oh, she can sing opera,"
And everybody's like, what?
and I was like, "Yeah, I kind of I can." And then I was with John Dryden, one of my piano player, and he starts playing the song "O Mio Babbino Caro" on the piano, and I was like, oh yeah, that's actually like the one song that I still know.
How funny.
And so we just sang the whole song.
Oh, that's great.
And everyone was quite shocked.
Yeah. So what is the, as a novice who's only listened to the Dead Kennedys, no, but like, what would be the main difference then between like classical opera singing versus jazz? I mean, notes are notes and breathing is breathing, isn't it? In tune is in tune. I mean, so what's, real quick breakdown in 30 seconds, the difference?
Okay. Let's see if I can do this in 30 seconds. In classical voice, there's a constant vibrato typically.
Okay. All right.
So that kind of differentiates it. You're more utilizing a head voice and what they call a more legit like singing style, which is like that. When you think of like an opera singer, I guess that's what what I would think of. In jazz, the style is a bit more conversational. Also, you have the element of improvisation and of sort of changing the melody and messing with the rhythms based on the stylistic elements. So it's mostly a difference in stylistic things. So classical, you sing the notes that are on the page with, in an expressive way, but you really need to stick to what's there. And in jazz, you learn the tune, and initially you want to like learn it as it exists on the page, and then you can kind of from there shape and mold it.
Sure. Start to give more interpretation, more feeling, I guess.
Yeah. I mean, and that's not to say that classical music doesn't have feeling, because it does. Yeah. But it's just a different way of interpreting a song so that your meaning is coming through. I was teaching a lesson this last week. I teach jazz at San Jose State. And I was telling my student, I was like, this song, pick the words you want to emphasize. I mean, you could emphasize, I was like, you could pick these words. I gave her some examples, and then I was like, or you could pick these other words and emphasize those and make that your target. Yeah. And it'll kind of change the meaning of the song.
Right.
How you, what you pick, what you're like targeting in your delivery.
Yeah. So, do you remember the first time where you started to kind of experiment with that? Kind of like, interpreting the song more to your own feeling and personality?
I mean, I'd say I definitely picked up a lot of that in college, when I was, taking my private jazz voice lessons. I started getting more comfortable with sort of messing around with the melody and doing what they call melodic variation.
Yeah.
And then once I got out of school, over the years after that, I was singing a lot of straight ahead jazz for a long time, and then I started writing some of my own songs and moving in the direction of this more kind of country and Americana style, which is actually what I grew up with. I grew up listening to a ton of that music, Patsy Cline and Willie Nelson and all those guys.
Sure.
And so I started, some of the really natural inflections of that style of singing were coming back into my voice. And then on top of that, I had this knowledge of how to sort of bend the melody and sort of work within that, to be more expressive. And because I was letting some of those natural inflections of my voice back in, it just started sounding like country. And I was like, oh, I am a country singer.
Yeah, that's funny. So well, that's the thing. Is like, so if you look at your more recent, well, let's say just like the last 5 years, right? Because your first, I guess, EP was I Heard a Country Song. Is that correct? Right?
Yeah.
So, and as you listen to that, that's really kind of voice and piano. If like I had
that's it. That's all it is.
Right. So when you went into that, what was the reason? Was it because you felt like you had to do that? It felt you wanted to do that, or you felt you only could do that, or you only knew a piano player?
It was like a very random sort of thing. I knew that John Dryden and I, the piano player on that EP, he and I had been doing gigs at the Headley Club
Mm-hmm.
and some local places where they have a piano, and we were doing a bunch of duo gigs, and realizing that we both really like older country and Bob Dylan and all that. So we were learning and playing some of those songs at those supposed to be jazz gigs, right?
Right.
And we were really getting into it, and I was just like, it would be, I want to record something. I know this guy who has a studio that has a great piano. Let's just do it. So I just booked a day and told John we're going on this day.
Yeah.
And just decided to do it. I didn't even get those tracks really truly mixed or mastered. I
Really?
used those are just the rough
That's
mixes.
it. That's like a live recording in a way.
I mean, I definitely punched in on a couple little spots,
Sure.
but over the
I thought I heard two of you in there somewhere.
but overall, it's just it was just that day, and then he gave us a rough mix, and I was like, oh, I really like this.
That's cool.
And then I just decided to put it out there, and I initially put it on Bandcamp, and then decided later, oh, what the heck, just put it everywhere.
Yeah.
Because I think it sounds good, and it's just sort of like a beginning. It was a nice jumping off point.
Yeah, that's
for me.
cool. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so then that's the thing. So that was very much. But then when you went to then a couple years later, when you get to Ren Love Song, you know, if I had to pick a different kind of style, it was like guitar. All of a sudden there, if you listen to the two of them back to back, it's like there's a piano and now there's a guitar, and then wait a minute, oh, there's even slide guitar in here.
Yes, pedal steel.
Yeah, right. So what would you say, just even from those 2 years, or maybe whatever time it was, what was the progression for you as an artist and a vocalist, and even then as a recorder? And were you writing songs already at this point?
Yeah, I mean, I wrote 4 of the songs on Ren Love Song.
Yeah.
And then it's quite a few covers. But yeah, I guess I had always wanted that band. I'd always wanted the great guitar player and the pedal steel and an awesome acoustic bass player. I wanted the band that I got on that recording was the dream band.
Yeah.
And the way that all went down was just I was ready. I knew I was ready to record an album, and I'd been gigging around the area for a while, and I just felt like it's time to have something out there that really represents who I feel like I am now. And it's hard because people had heard me do a lot of jazz, so I was sort of reshifting everyone in a different direction. Okay, now I'm doing this.
Right.
Because I sometimes had opportunities to do my original music, and but I wasn't getting that many opportunities to do original stuff, and my originals were very much in that Americana classic country vein. And so I just had to kind of push everyone in that direction and let them hear me in that way. And I was, with the generosity of the community, I was able to put that album together and have Jesse Harris produce it. And he's kind of perfect for that because he's worked with Nora Jones and tons of other people, but he always has a bit of a jazzy Americana country vibe. That's his thing. So he helped me put that band together that just was the band I always wanted. I told him I wanted pedal steel. It's one of my favorite instruments.
Yeah,
I just needed to have pedal steel.
Yeah. Well, I have to say too that and I was just kind of thinking, as far as you as a singer, I felt like, if you're talking about the difference between classical, you hit the note, the way it's written, jazz is more improvisational, or more interpretation. But then when you do Love Song #1, is you could start to hear more. I don't know. I mean, I'm not a trained music guy, but it's more, a little bit more gritty, a little bit more breathy, a little bit more expressive, even in the way that you're controlling your voice, would you say? And
I think you're right. There's and in terms of the country thing, there's a lilting thing to the voice. But I have a confession to make. Okay, Daniel.
Okay, all right.
So that song, Love Song #1, we recorded it on the first day in the studio. We did 14 songs in 2 days, and then we did overdubs on the third day.
Wow.
So like any punching in or anything like that.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
that's like what we did for the studio. So that's really a lot of songs.
Yeah, yeah.
And so we did Love Song Number 1 on the first day in the studio. And when I got to the studio that day, I had a cough
Oh.
and like my throat was sore and I
So
was like kind of messed up. And so I recorded that vocal on Love Song Number 1, totally thinking that on the third day I would redo the vocal part.
Oh, okay.
Because I was just like, well, you know, it is what it is. My voice is sort of messed up right now. It's going to be better on the third day. I was like, it's going to be better. It'll be fine. And so then we got to the third day and I was like, okay, Jesse, like, let's do Love Song Number 1. And he was like, no, you know what? I was listening to it. And I just think your vocal take has a lot of like, it sounds really vulnerable and authentic and great. And we're not redoing it. So there. And I was just like, oh, what?
That's so funny.
So I was just, that was it. I was stuck with it.
Yeah. Well, that's great. Well, I actually, you know what? I think I'm going to become a music critic because I picked up on that. No, but that's really cool. Like, yeah, I mean, that was the thing. It's like, wow, like just from those 2 different albums, like he was like, wow, she's really like the control. But so what it was is you were kind of holding back, not to overdo it, strain it, but right? Yeah. Well, it came out great. So I mean,
yeah, it did. I mean, that's also the benefit of having a really great producer who can tell you, hey, you're just going to do it.
Yeah.
You're going to do it the way that I'm telling you. I mean, he made some other calls on the album too. There's a song I love by, it's a Tim Buckley tune. It's on the record. It's called Song to the Siren.
Mm-hmm.
And I did a reharmonization of it. And so we did it on the record. And I had a completely different vision of how that song would go in terms of rhythm and the drums. And we, you know, the band started out playing the tune and I started singing and I stopped us. I was like, wait, stop. We're not, this isn't what I had in mind, or this isn't what I thought.
Yeah.
And Jesse just said, Ren, that sounded really cool. And you're going to go back in to the vocal booth. You're going to sing it the way that we're doing it right now. And then you're going to come out here and listen to it and tell me that it's bad.
Oh, okay.
And I was like, okay. So then I listened back to it and I was like, oh yeah, it's really cool. And it actually is one of my favorite songs on the record because it's just the way the drums turned out and everything and the feel of it is really cool.
Yeah.
And I just, it's nice to have somebody in the room who's telling you like, hey, just try it out.
Yeah. Well, and and that's the thing. And then, kudos to you for being able to listen, right? A lot of times an artist, is coming in the studio and there's like, no, we're going to do it this way. And then there becomes tension. So, that's awesome. So I was going to even talk to you about that, about, collaboration as a musician, right? So a songwriter, I mean, you're writing a song. I know from what you're doing, your bedroom on the side of your bed, you're singing your la la la's, like when you get to the studio, it's like there's so much other input. And I know you and John, right? Is it?
Yeah, John Dryden. We wrote Love Song Number 1.
Yeah, yeah. That you guys do a lot of kind of collaborations and playing together and stuff like that. So talk about that, because even the your kind of funk jazz Anachronistics.
The Anachronistics.
Anachronistics, that's right. Anachronistics.
It's hard.
I know, actually. Anachronistics, right? So that's because there's a collaboration in there too, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So talk about that as an artist who's writing songs, who's recording, who's working with different bands. How does that work?
Well, for me, when I'm writing lyrics or writing a song, I am typically thinking, what band will this be for? Like, is this my country thing or my jazzy country thing? Or is this for the funk band? Mm-hmm. And so I'll typically write the tune and then figure out what the chords are. I usually do like a voice memo, and then I go to the piano and I figure out what the chords are for the song. And then I'll bring it to, if it's the country thing, sometimes I don't bring it to anybody. I just go, I think this is going to sound good on guitar. And then I'll just like make a chart. And at my next gig, I'll give it to whoever's playing guitar with me. Sometimes, this guy, Chris Motter, has played a lot with me. I'll just give it to him and be like, it's like this. And I'll just like tell him, it's like this
Yeah, it sounds good.
feel.
Yeah.
Let's just do it. And he's like, okay.
That's cool.
So that's sometimes how it goes. And sometimes like, I released a song called If You Can Take Him, You Can Have Him,
Uh-huh.
I think last year. And with that tune, I wrote that with Bob Welsh, great guitar player in the area who's typically known for doing blues.
Mm-hmm.
But I was on my way to his house and we were just kind of getting together to like play some music and maybe write a song. And I pretty much wrote the lyrics to that song on the way to his house.
Oh, wow. That's great.
And then I got there and I was like, okay, so I got these lyrics and I want it to be like up tempo, super country sounding, like think Dolly Parton. This is the vibe. And so he just started playing chords like in the style that I wanted. And I just started singing. That song was written in like 20 minutes.
Yeah, that's crazy.
It was really crazy. And then of course with William, actually, he and I feel like our collaboration is like really more of a deeper collaboration in a way in some songs because it's not like working separately.
Mm-hmm.
Often John and I like work separately. With Love Song Number 1, John wrote the melody and I wrote the lyrics, and we just put them together, and that was it. With William, like the song that we're releasing coming soon, The Enemy of the People, I had written some lyrics, and he was like over at my house, and I was like, hey, I like have this like idea, and I like sang a little bit of a melody for him, and he just started playing guitar, and then I started kind of messing with my melody and kind of fitting it in. And then I mean, that song also was written really quickly, but it was like a real collaboration in terms of his like input to the melodic elements of that. And also in that band, in the Anachronistics, it's safe to say that William writes the majority of the songs, and he writes like the whole thing when he
like the parts out for the bass and for the bongos and everything.
He plays bass too, but it's not necessarily that, but he'll write the chords and the melody and the song and the lyrics themselves. So it's not like I'm writing the lyrics for every song in that group. I've written a couple of the tunes that we do, but I'd say the majority are either like straight up collaborations, or he wrote it and I like wrote a verse, or he just wrote it. Sometimes he'll have like most of the song, but it needs like one more verse, and I'll be like, okay, by the next gig I'll have a verse. Just play the verse part and I'll have it, and I'll just do it, and you'll never hear what it was. I'll tell you later what it was. But yeah,
how's that go then, just for personalities and how does it work with the negotiation of, no, I don't like that lyric, and no, I don't like that transition? How do you guys work that out? Because that seems why every band on the face of the earth falls apart. The bassist really wants to be the singer, and the singer really just wants to be a drunk.
Geez, you have a pretty negative view of the singer, man. I'm just kidding. No, William, for the Anachronistics, for that band, Will is super flexible, and he and I have a really good communication dialogue. And sometimes he brings songs to me, and I'll be like, it's not for me. Like, it's not a song I would sing. It doesn't feel right for me. And he can sing too. So if he really loves a song that I don't really love, he can go and sing it and do his own solo project thing, whatever. He can take that song and do whatever he wants with it, right? So occasionally I won't be up for it. And then there are sometimes too where he'll bring a song and I'll decide that I love it. And then later on he's like, I don't know. And I'm like, what? No, I love it. I want to do it.
You have to convince him.
I have to convince him. But we just get along really well. It's a really like open communication. He's like my brother. And then with John Dryden, my piano player for my other project, he is like a songwriting machine. So he writes a lot of songs that I do that he also just wrote from start to finish, and I'm just singing the tune, right? And sometimes he'll tell me in advance, like, it's up for interpretation, or like put your put your vibe on
put
it,
your fling on it. Yeah.
Yeah, put your style into it. And then sometimes he'll be like, no, I want you to sing it exactly as I wrote it. And this is how I wrote it. And like, we're not stopping until you get it right. And then that can be hard for me. And it's only frustrating because I'm not doing it right, so
Sure.
I want to get to the point where I'm doing it correctly.
Yeah. But then when you
So
go live, you can do whatever you want.
yeah. I don't know. I try to honor the things,
Yeah.
especially when he's really specifically wants it to be one way. I'm like, okay.
So how does it, I mean, like, so you're writing songs, you're doing collaborations and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Are you kind of like getting that to the point where like, no, I just want to sing my own material that I write? And because there's Ren as the music group, right? Well, that's kind of a little bit more with John. And then there's the acrostics. No.
The Anachronistics.
Anachronistics.
Think of like an anachronism. Anachronistics.
I keep thinking that, and every time I go to say it, I think I second guess myself. So
we'll get it eventually.
Right, yeah. So now they're both, and then that's got a whole other band. Now did you start that as well as your own kind of like solo work, and they're going?
Yeah, I mean,
you're the lead, the ringleader.
So William and I are co-leaders of that band.
Okay.
When we first started out in that group, we were actually called the Renegades, which is much easier to pronounce, actually.
Yeah.
And it's it's also a pun, so that's nice. But we were the Renegades, and that was all well and good. But I felt like William's contributions to that band were so much, and he was writing so much of the music, and his stylistic vibe was so present in that group that it really couldn't. I wanted my name out of the band name, and the Renegades, and implies that it's my band only, and it's really not. Like, I love the band, but in terms of style and vibe, I think that William sort of guides the ship. So I wanted to make sure that he had some ownership over the name, and feeling like he was, a co-leader in that group, so that he could take responsibility and push it, where he wanted it to go. And he's done a lot. Like, he has, on these recordings that we're releasing, he had such a huge part in like arranging the tunes and he got a great percussionist to come on board, and he like organized getting keyboard and organ and all this stuff in there that just I wouldn't have necessarily thought of all those different elements.
Yeah.
And
that's
so,
cool.
it's been...
So it's much more of kind of a collaboration. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
definitely.
I do want to talk about that and your new release, Enemy of the People. But before we get there, I don't know if I'm going to embarrass you or embarrass me or step on some toes or anything, but I have to ask you this.
I'm excited.
Yeah, right? It's probably not that big of a deal. But I did see somewhere in an email, because I just know you as Ren, but then something came up with Catherine.
Yes.
Okay, so, and it's not a secret, or is it a secret, or you don't want people to know? Like, no,
it's not a secret.
So your passport name is
Catherine.
Catherine. Okay. Then how did that, I mean, it makes sense, Catherine, Ren. Was that something happened as a kid, or you kind of pulled that out? You're trying to change your identity because in high school you were doing Dungeons and Dragons, but now you're going to do jazz music, so you had to go to Ren rather than Catherine.
Like that story, but that is not the story. Actually, so it goes back to before I was even born. My mom wanted to name me Ren, W-R-E-N, like a wren bird. And the story goes, although people deny this, I don't know, but the story goes that my dad's side of the family thought that was a weird name and too birdie, quote unquote,
for a singer.
And they thought it was weird. And so my mom decided it was either going to be Lauren or Catherine. Okay. And she was going to call me Ren. So she was going to get one over on everyone.
Right.
And so she chose Catherine, actually, because her best friend's name was Kathy.
Oh, okay.
And then she spelled Catherine super strange so that she could have the R-E-N at the end and use that as my name.
That's cool.
So when I was in kindergarten, I had no idea how to spell Catherine, and I got in trouble and had to change my card from green
Oh,
to orange. And I went to the board and I had no idea where, like, I thought it would say
right.
Ren and it said Catherine, and I got in trouble and I was like so
Oh,
upset. And then I had
wow.
to go home and learn how to spell Catherine.
Wow. In a different way than the way that's on your birth certificate or something?
No,
No.
the way that my mom spells it is like just super unique. It's Katheren,
Okay.
Catherine. So
Yeah.
it's that Ren Ren at the end that we can use as Ren
Yeah.
and
She was
for
working
everything.
that hard. Like she wanted to call you. She got her way.
Yeah, she
Yeah.
did. She
How
sure did.
and how's all the family now? They don't even think about it twice, right? It's all
Oh no, no. And occasionally, even weirdly, I'll get like a W. Someone will put a W, even from my family, like
oh,
my extended family.
yeah.
They'll forget and put a W.
Oh, that's
So
kind of fun. That's fun. That's a great story for behind the music.
hey, yeah,
So then,
woohoo.
how do you think? I mean, because people say that people's names, I don't know, some people really believe like their name means a lot and stuff like that for their
Hmm.
character and stuff like that. Do you think having that kind of uniqueness and story and mythology behind your name and your mom's tenaciousness to make sure it's Ren, do you think
Hmm.
that's kind of like affected your perspective on the world at all or anything?
Um, hmm, maybe. Yeah, I think having a unique name sort of makes you feel like a little special, maybe.
Yeah,
You know, it's like, oh, my name is Ren, and nobody else has that name.
yeah,
Um, Although people do have it now. I've met a few other Rens. Um, but
yeah,
yeah, I guess so. In a way, it makes you feel kind of like, oh, I've got this cool, unique thing about me.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's cool. Yeah, that's good. Hey, so in over before we get to the new release, we'll do
Mhm.
that right next. But one more question, just
Mhm.
in this kind of process from college and then singing and playing different venues and stuff like that.
Mhm. Mhm.
Has there been a time where you've kind of like what, trying to make a living as a musician, doing spending money for recording, all that
Mhm.
kind of stuff, where you kind of were like, I think I'm just gonna throw in the towel or I'm not going to do it. Have you ever had that kind of feeling or
No.
no?
No.
No.
No. Uh-uh.
No, no, no. Yeah.
I gotta say, I have been incredibly lucky and have had a lot of people support me in the process and, make me feel like it's definitely worth doing. And then when I graduated college, I think it must have been the year before I graduated. I had like a boyfriend or something who was graduating the year before I graduated. And I went to the graduation ceremony, and this guy, no, it was my year. Sorry. This guy gave a speech, the keynote speech for the College of the Arts,
Hmm.
and he went into this whole story about how he went to Long Beach, and when he lived in the dorms, he had all these friends that lived like in the same dorm as him, and one of them, a couple of them were actresses, and a few of them were writers. They wanted to write for film, and
Hmm.
some of them were musicians, and he goes, well, our one friend Heather, we all knew she was going to be famous first. Heather Locklear was the
Oh, okay.
person, right?
Yeah.
He's like, and so of course she like made it, and that was like great for her. And then there was this other girl who was an actress, but she was more of a character actress, and she struggled and struggled for years, but she kept calling herself an actress, and she kept trying, and she eventually was the voice of like Bart Simpson or something on The Simpsons.
Yeah.
Um, and then and he's like, oh yeah. And then my friend, the hardest one, the worst one was my friend who was a screenwriter and had for years just been toiling away and doing side jobs and just
Yeah.
But if you asked him what he did or what his
Hmm.
job was or
Hmm.
his thing was, he was a screenwriter and he was
Yeah.
working on stuff. And years passed, like 20 years passed, and nothing had happened really for him, and he was struggling so much. But then he wrote the screenplay to Men in Black,
Okay.
the movie with
Yeah.
Will
Will
Smith.
Smith. Yeah.
And basically this guy's point was, all my friends who didn't give up eventually made it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so, you just have to keep on trying. If it's what you really want, you just keep going. And my thought process too is like, if I keep creating music and I keep pushing it out there and finding new ways to release music
Mm-hmm.
and just be a part of the scene and sing and perform.
Yeah.
Then someday down the line, and I'm like a older lady or something,
Mm-hmm.
someone will discover something that I released, something new I released, maybe like a new single. I
Mm-hmm.
don't know. I hope to be still releasing new music at that point.
Yeah.
And they'll be like, wow, I really like this. What else is out there from this person? And
Yeah.
they'll get to look back and there'll be this full on catalog of all
Yeah.
the different things that I've gotten to do over my career and my life. And,
Yeah. That's cool.
I just am determined to keep on going because what else am I going to do, really?
Right.
I mean,
Yeah. Yeah. You can't. A bird sings, right?
yes.
Yeah.
Oh, yes. Yes. That should be the title of my next album.
So then for you, yeah, that's the thing too, is like, what is it? Because, you were telling that story of the valedictorian the keynote speaker,
Yeah.
and the thing is like, to make it, I'm always fascinated on that, on what does it really mean to make it. So for you, what does it mean to make it? What's the make it you're looking for?
I mean, I feel like I'm making it.
Yeah. Making songs. Yeah.
I'm making it. I'm releasing things.
Yeah.
I'm making things. Um, I always used to say when I can just do music and I don't have to have any kind of day job or something, then I will feel like I've made it. But maybe that's not so much the case anymore because I feel like I can really commit myself to music and, recording new music and doing new stuff when I have some other income that helps a little bit. Just so that I don't feel stressed about it all the time. I'd like to enjoy the music making process and not feel, really stressed out all the time about how I'm going to live.
Yeah.
Because music is just getting harder and harder to make a lot of money doing.
Yeah.
But you definitely can make a lot of things, make a lot of great music and, great releases.
Yeah.
So I kind of feel like I'm making it already.
Yeah. That's cool. Yeah. And then what about, and teaching? I mean, at San Jose State, right? How's that? Does that does that drain you or fill you up? Maybe you don't want to say, but does that inspire you?
I really do like it. I don't have that many students though. It's a very small, right now I actually only have one student. So,
really? Is that because of the COVID type of thing or?
Partly, I think it has to do with, teaching over Zoom and receiving a lesson over Zoom is not ideal.
Yeah.
And so, there's just not a ton of students at the moment. And right now, I'm the person I'm teaching is a classical voice major, and she's just kind of doing a half her lesson
half-heartedly.
With me. Well, no, she's not half-heartedly. She's doing great, but she she gets an hour of voice lessons for the semester, and she's doing a half hour with her classical teacher and a half hour with me. And that's like a new thing that they've started where the classical majors can kind of pop over and do some jazz lessons just to sort of get familiar with the stylistic elements.
Yeah. That's good, actually, right? I mean, don't you feel like
yeah.
I mean, doing cross training is always great for artistic. So now I think when I saw you play at Little Esque for Christmas,
yes,
I think you brought out, was it a ukulele or a guitar or a violin? You played a little song yourself.
I'm just so glad you're asking about this. I brought out a ukulele, and I have become much better at the ukulele during the quarantine. And I've even picked up the guitar now, and I can actually play songs on the guitar too.
Cool.
So
awesome.
Things have improved a lot, and I'm really happy about it.
Yeah. So then when you're writing a song, if you, I think it seems like if you go to the piano or you go to your ukulele or a guitar, do you find it, working its way out a little bit different then? And
yeah, I feel like there are different pathways to go through. Typically when I'm going to the piano, I have already come up with a melody in my head.
Okay.
And going to the piano is just an easy way for me to figure out the melody that I came up with, and then set the chords to it.
Right.
Writing on the ukulele or the guitar is I'll come up with a progression or something.
Okay.
And then I'll just start humming some lyrics that I have or humming along to whatever progression
Yeah.
So then it like the process is sort of backwards.
Yeah, or just different. Yeah, yeah. That makes
Yeah.
sense because if you pick up one that you're kind of fiddling and then you get inspiration, where the other one is you've kind of like have it and you're just trying to record it or
Yeah.
to document it in a way. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm just trying to document it exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, that's cool.
Mhm.
Okay, so let's talk about the Anachronistics.
The Anachronistics.
Anachronistic. See, I'm doing this on purpose. It's a teaching tool, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I'm actually so bad at this. Even like if I do the intros on these things and I have to do, like, I have to get you to say your name for me. What's Ren? Say the last name clearly.
Oh, Geisick.
Geisick. Okay, I got to
I'll
make
give
sure.
I'll give you a trick. The
Okay.
geese are sick.
Oh, there you go. Ren Geisick.
Geisick.
I got it.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I just have a total problem pronouncing things. But okay, so this is it was a morphine of the Renegades. It's kind of a jazz, kind of funkish kind of thing.
Funk soul.
Funk soul, yeah, great stuff. And that was about a year ago, I guess. You guys did you guys do an album or was it
we did an
EP?
Mm-hmm. We released it on January 1st, 2020.
Awesome. And then now you
and
guys have just a new song, or are you guys putting together an EP or?
So there's this song that we're releasing on the 23rd as a single, Enemy of the People. And then we have one other song in the set that we've done. I mean, they're just both being released as singles.
Yeah.
So Enemy of the People and the other one is called Think About It.
Yeah.
Both kind of political, so it's perfect.
Right. I was going to ask you about it. So Enemy of the People. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So a great song. Thank you for sending it over. It's going to be in the background, the intro here and the extra. It's going to be great.
Love it.
Yeah, it's wonderful. I mean, it's just such a great mix, the bongos, and it has that real kind of, I mean, I wish I could name exactly. I don't have enough knowledge of different music, but it's got that real kind of like 70s kind of feel
Nailed
to it.
it. 70s is what we're going for.
Awesome. And I love that sound.
So William Bohrer, my co-leader in the band, he loves like 70s funk. In fact, he says that the Anachronistics is parallel universe pop, where like 70s funk never died, basically.
Well, and even the name, right? Anachronistics.
Anachronistics.
You got it. Sorry. But that, I mean, that basically means like is it like from another time or against time?
Yeah, out of the timeline.
Yeah. So is that's kind of like the feel that you guys are doing this kind of like throwback 70s thing in a way in general. Yeah. Okay. So we talk about Enemy of the People. Who are you talking about when you talk about Enemy of the People? Was that a relationship that you were in or?
Okay. So the chorus of the song, I'm going to say his name, but we typically don't. But the chorus is, when the ones you blame won't speak your name, they'll send you back from whence you came.
Yeah.
You're the enemy of the people. This is a political song, so I bet you can guess who it's about, but it's about our current president.
Yeah.
He likes to call the press the enemy of the people.
Right.
And so I had heard that, and I had like listened to some podcasts where they were saying, you know, how that's sort of damaging to our country, really, to say that about the press when we really need good news and information and like accurate news and stuff. Yeah. And I was like, you know what is he saying? He's saying that about the press, but really he is.
Right.
He's the enemy. And you know, I just was sort of fed up with hearing that voice and those lies. So I just wrote these lyrics and wrote the song. And, you know, I pulled some things from you know, when I say when the ones you blame won't speak your name, I was specifically thinking of how Michelle Obama wouldn't say his name in that one speech she did, where she was just like, right. We're when they go low, we go high. Right. And when she did that whole thing, I was like, she won't even say his name.
Yeah.
Because she doesn't want to give him the satisfaction, you know. And so that's what I was thinking about for that like particular line. And you know, if once you know what it's about, it's pretty obvious what we're saying.
I think it's pretty obvious, even not even knowing.
Yeah, it's pretty obvious.
So, but that's appropriate too. I think even for the style of music to have it be kind of like a political message kind of brings me back to a lot of the, the late 60s and the 70s. I mean, there was a lot of civil rights movement still stuff going on, even with Chicano movement kind of started a little bit after, kind of more civil rights, right? And you just think of, all the different kind of stuff. So it's it's kind of fun.
Well, I think we've got to have some voices out there that are telling it like it is. I don't want to back away from the moment we're in, and I just I feel like someone has to say it.
Yeah. So then, I mean, have you done any other song that's been kind of like a political, or it's been mostly kind of relationships and Christmas?
Yeah. Yep.
So this is a new...
This is a new direction for sure for me.
Yeah.
And it definitely felt like it fit into this band, the Anachronistics, to be this kind of vibe, because William, he's pretty active as well, and in fact the other song that we're going to be releasing after this one, so people should definitely follow us on Spotify, is pretty like it's basically about gentrification.
Okay.
I mean, he lives in Berkeley, and he's seeing a lot of things up there in Oakland, Berkeley area, and so he's writing that into his work, and it kind of is a bit of an inspiration. I think he wrote his song first, and then I think Enemy of the People was written like right around that same time, like right after he wrote that song. So we're living in this very hyper political world, and I don't want to be divisive, but also we can't act like we aren't taking a side.
Yeah.
So yeah, I have never written other political songs. So.
Yeah. I mean, do you feel that even as an artist? I mean, I think, do you feel that's I don't want to say like it's more some of the growing thing, or is it just what inspires you? You're going to write about, but do you see yourself becoming more engaged, kind of like in the political, social kind of scene, and then therefore it's coming out of the music? Or I don't know. I don't even know what I'm asking. I'm just thinking.
I am. I'd say like it's not in my nature to be out there, like especially on like social media as being out there really going against one. You don't
strike me as a person who likes to cause conflict.
Mm-mm.
You seem like you seem like in general you're kind of like a peacemaker, I would think, in some ways.
Yes, I'm a Libra.
You have that very kind of like I think it would be, I think that's probably why you're great at leading bands, because I don't really see you as a person who cause division or likes division or conflict,
No, I'm not into that. I'm just not into the conflict and stuff. But I feel like when you're writing a song, it feels different to me. Like
you mean like you're a different person, or you can play a character or something?
No, I mean I am me, but it feels like saying it with a song rather than saying it in a post or something.
Sure.
In like a blog post, or I don't know, or in a Facebook post.
Yeah.
Is different. It feels different to me, and feels more like it's like people can interpret it how they want to interpret it.
Yeah.
And I'm just like saying what I feel, and it's like there's no, I mean, sure, somebody could write me an angry email or something, I guess. Sure. But I feel like you can listen to it and you can like it or you cannot, and that's your choice.
Yeah.
And it just feels like a different platform to say the things I want to say.
Sure.
Than the really sort of back and forth thing that you get on social media and stuff.
I think that any art form, I think, has more impact than just a straight kind of rant or I don't even know, post, right? A paper or something like that, because it causes so many different aspects of the person, right? I mean, you're using so many different elements of your mind, and with music, right? You're getting imagery, you're getting thoughts. You can think a lot more. You can add your own color and interpretation. So yeah, I think that's pretty cool. Have you ever done that though? Like, I mean, you've done it, but where you write a song, like you think of yourself as a character, and then you write it from their voice, right? Do you do that, or you
Yeah.
pretty much kind of do it more? It's like your own personal experience in some way.
I have done that, but it's sort of usually like for example, there's one song that we do in the Anachronistics called "The Breaker," and I wrote the song. And in the song, it's basically saying the person who it's talking to the person who is the breaker, like the one breaking someone else's heart.
Oh, okay.
And saying how bad they are and how like they should have known better and all this stuff. And really that song was like someone else, but it was talking to me. It was okay. I like flipped it around, like I'm talking in the
you
song,
became
I'm
the person. Yeah.
I'm the breaker, really. I
Right.
mean, I'm acting like I'm not the breaker in the song, and that I'm like mad at the breaker, but really
in the real life you were the breaker. You were the breaker of hearts.
Yeah, I was. In that particular instance, I was.
I'm sure there's a string of broken hearts all through the club scene, jazz club scene.
That is not
up and
true.
down the coast.
No, Daniel. No, I'm just everyone's friend. I'm usually just everyone's friend, especially in the jazz scene. It's just much better to be friends with the musicians than to have any other kind of
relationships.
Yes.
Ren
I've
the
been
friend.
there, but Ren the friend.
That's
Ren,
your other album.
Everybody's friend.
That's your next album.
Yeah.
Yeah. Cool. Awesome. Good. So then, what would you say? What do you, in this particular song that you're going to be releasing, what's one aspect to it that you're really like excited about? Like you're like, whoa, and shocked you even as a creator?
Well, I'd say I'm really excited about the way that all the instruments sound, to be honest, and I can put that on William. I mean, but he took this song to another level. When we first recorded it, we recorded the drums and the guitar at the same time, and then William did some bass part while I sang the initial vocal, and then we added some background vocals, and then William went off. I don't know. He was off with his brother, who's a sound engineer, and they were messing around. And then he goes, "Oh, I got this great percussionist, Dave Eagle, to put a bunch of percussion on the song." And I was like, "What?" Yeah. Okay.
The bongos, right?
Yes, the bongos and a bunch of other cool little sounds.
Yeah, there's another little part where there's I hear it's I don't know if it's bells or something. But there's a little section that goes, and I'm like, oh, this is super cool. And then the tambourine that's going on. I mean, that's just gives it that. It's got that full 70. Anyways.
Yeah. It really pushes it into that vibe, that retro 70s vibe, for sure. And then I feel like the background vocals turned out really cool.
Yeah.
And of course, and William was the one who reached out to our buddy Alec to do Alec Huntley, who actually used to be officially in the band, but he moved away. He lives in Texas now. So we got him to, record some organ and stuff. So it was just this huge collaboration, and it was all layered upon each other. And so then by the time I went in to re-record my vocal, there was just this amazing track with so much stuff. I was like, wow, okay. You've been doing a lot of work, William. This is super cool.
That's cool. Yeah.
It really turned out. I mean, he just did a great job of pulling it all together.
Yeah, awesome. Yeah, it sounds great. So, and who's all in the band? Why don't you give a rundown?
So, okay. So in this for this song, for the Enemy of the People song, we're using a in studio kind of situation.
Yeah, sure.
Where it's sort of so in the studio, we had Malcolm on drums, and right now Schuster. I can't remember his last name.
Sure.
Malcolm on drums. Will is playing guitar and bass. Dave Eagle on percussion. Amy Davalos is singing background vocals. John Kellett is singing background vocals. William Bohrer also is singing background vocals. He's doing a lot on that track. And then Alec on organ, and I think I have everyone. But like I said, William was the one.
Yeah.
orchestrating all this stuff behind the scenes. Like, I was just like, oh wow, we wrote this song together, and now it's like gone to a whole other level.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think that's everyone. But then when we do our live shows and stuff, our band is William on guitar, Danny Gers on bass, and John Kellett on drums. And then Amy DeBalis will sing backgrounds with us when we can afford to pay her.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's
cool.
The situation.
Yeah.
But
cool. Good. And then
cool.
so as they say, it's dropping.
Yes.
When is it going to be released?
October 23rd.
Okay, October 23rd.
We snuck it in right before the election.
Yeah.
Let this be your voting anthem.
Right. Well, that's, I was even going to use that word anthem, right? It's got a very kind of like anthem kind of sound to it. And
yes.
Yeah. That's cool.
Totally.
Awesome.
That's what we're going for.
Cool. And then where can people find you and your projects and everything? What's kind of like the magic digits?
Yes. So you can find me, Ren, the country Americana singer-songwriter, at rensings.com, and also on Facebook and under Ren Geisick, and Instagram under Ren Forever. And then
did you actually like put your head down and put your hand up with a 4 like you did, like forever?
Forever. Yeah.
Like a rock on. Yeah.
Totally. And then the Anachronistics you can find at the Anachronistics band on or actually just at the Anachronistics on Instagram, and at the Anachronistics band on Facebook. And we have a website, theanachronistics.com, which awesome. I need to update like today.
Yeah.
And then those songs are going to be, or that song is going to be available on Spotify and iTunes and all the places
Bandcamp
you can expect to find music. Yeah, Bandcamp, all under the Anachronistics.
Yeah.
So
awesome. Cool.
Yeah.
Last thing, Ren, what is your driving kind of like mission for your life? Like what makes you tick, that keeps you aligned and going?
Really, it's so uncomplicated, but just like family, like family, friends, relationships, I'd say.
Yeah.
Building relationships through music and, outside of music. Yeah. I think, that's sort of a very core thing for me in my life, is just having strong relationships and being able to be there for people and have a strong community.
Yeah.
Just relationships. That's like so blah, but that's it. That's all it is.
No, it's not blah. Actually, that's something. I mean, of course, I'm going to say it's not blah because I think the same thing. No, that's what I tell people, like that it's all about people. There's nothing else that matters as much as people. Right?
Yeah.
Nothing else. I mean, like things and all that kind of stuff, but people, so relationships, I mean, that's what it's all about.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
Cool. Totally. Awesome. Well, thank you.
Yeah.
And I'm looking forward to, I'm going to have to jump in. Most Sunday nights at 6 p.m.
Most Sunday nights except for this one.
Okay. No problem. Well, this will come out after this
perfect.
week.
Okay,
Yeah.
so then yes, on the 25th, October 25th, we'll have a show at 6 p.m.
Awesome. And then that's with the Anachronistics.
Yeah, there's no R in there. The Anachronistics.
The Anachronistics.
Yeah, it'll be, I'll cross stream it on the Anachronistics and on the Ren Geisick page.
Sweet. All right.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, thank you very much. And
thank you.
I love the song and I really appreciate it. Can't wait for when's the second one coming out? The next release?
Oh, we haven't decided yet, but I think before the end of the year.
Okay. Cool. We'll be looking for that too. All right. All right. Thank you, Ren.
Thank you, Daniel.
Talk to you later.
Okay.
To find out more about Ren and her projects, follow her on her website at rensings.com and check out her funk and soul band, The Anachronistics, at theanachronistics.com. Thank you for listening to the Content Magazine podcast. Follow us on social media at Content Mag. Visit our website to become a member and help us to continue to tell the stories of the local creatives. This episode's music is the new single, Enemy of the People, by the Anachronistics.
You sow their doubts and plant the seed. speak your name, they'll send you back from whence you came.